This is a highly debated topic that a lot of people are really passionate about. Pro-choice or pro-life? This is the first of two videos that I'll do on this topic, and this is in light of Texas Governor Greg Abbott signing a law banning abortion as early as 6 weeks. On the screen are 10 questions, 5 I'll present in this video, the other 5 in the second video. So number 1, should women who have complications during pregnancy be forced to give birth even if it means risking their own life? Is this ban on abortion, an attack on women's rights? At what point is what's in the womb considered a life? Does a life in the womb have rights? And does a woman's rights supersede the rights of the life in her womb because that life in her womb is fully dependent upon her carrying it? Number 1, do women who have complications during pregnancy have to give birth if it means risking their own life? The Catholic Church says no, they don't. They shouldn't be forced to. It's the doctor's responsibility to exhaust every option possible to save both the mother and the child. But if they do have to make a decision, one or the other, the church says it's ethical to save the mother's life. Now, the church would make a differentiation now. That's a hysterectomy. A hysterectomy is done with the intent to save the mother. An abortion is a direct attack on the child's life. So they're different. Now, these cases are extremely rare. And here's something to back that up. Former U.S. Surgeon General Colonel Everett Koop said that in his 36 years of pediatric surgery, he doesn't know of a single instance in which a baby had to be aborted in order to save the mother's life. Not one. He said if there were complications that arose, the doctor would either induce labor early or perform a C-section. So again, these are extremely rare cases, but in those instances, the church says it's ethical to save the mother's life. If all options, all other channels have been explored and not working, it's ethical to save the mother's life. Now, is this ban on abortion an attack on women's rights? No. Again, no. Abortion itself is an attack on all human rights. Pope Benedict XVI said that the most fundamental right, the presupposition to every other right, is the right to life itself. Therefore, abortion can't be a human right because it's the exact opposite. Mother Teresa said that abortion is anti-women. This is one of the most charitable women to have ever walked the face of the earth. Abortion is anti-women. She said 3/4 of its victims are women. Half the babies and all the mothers. Now, with at least half the population being women, a little bit more than that, then we would assume that at least half or a little bit more of the babies who are aborted would also be women. So what about those babies who would turn into young women, adult women? What about those women's rights? What about the mothers? Now, do you ever wonder this? So people who are in the military, they come back from war and they've experienced death. They've experienced having to kill someone. What do they go through? PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Many women, many mothers who've had an abortion experience the same thing. So why, if we're well aware of the trauma of PTSD, do we promote something that puts women in a position to have to go through that? Next, at what point is what's in the womb a life? A lot of debate on this topic, right? It's only life when it comes out of the womb, or it's life when its body starts to form and you can see limbs, or it's life when a heartbeat is detected. Well, the University of Chicago did a study and they surveyed 5,500 biologists, so people whose expertise is life, the study of life. In the survey, it concluded that 95% of the 5,500 biologists said that life begins at conception. You can't get 95% of 55 people to agree on something. 95% of 5,500 experts in the study of life agree that life begins at conception. So, since it is a life, does the life in the womb have its own rights? Yes, it does. The 14th Amendment says that no state shall deprive any person life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And given the time the 14th Amendment was put into place, the rule of the land was abortion is illegal. And so it's understood that unborn children are also protected by the 14th Amendment. So science says that life begins at conception, and the law says that that life is protected. And finally, we've acknowledged that science says it's a life at conception. It has its own rights. Its rights are protected by law. Now, are those rights less important than the woman's rights? The woman who's carrying the baby, do her rights supersede the rights of the life in her womb? No, they don't, and here's why. The argument's made that, well, the woman's carrying the baby and the baby's fully dependent upon the mother. Therefore, the mother has rights over the baby. The same way that that baby is dependent upon the mother in the womb, it's also just as dependent on the mother outside of the womb. And we wouldn't justify killing a baby 2 seconds after it came out of the womb. So why 2 seconds earlier would we try to justify it and say it's okay? In the same way a baby is dependent upon the mother in the womb, it's still dependent upon the mother at 2 months old, 2 years old. So we can't try to justify it because the mother is carrying the baby. The baby has its own rights, and it can't be stripped of those.